I've made a copy of ODB14 Form Properties and renamed this copy to ODB15 Embedding Pictures. I've taken some pictures of my employees, and I want the pictures of the employees to show up when I bring up his or her record. To keep things simple, I placed all the photos in a folder, and I did take all these pictures myself. So, although probably not the best quality, they will work for our database example. We're going to embed these pictures into our database, meaning we want our photo to be stored on the database table. So the first thing I want to do is go into our tables. We need to edit this. Right-click, Edit. We're going to add a field at the bottom. We will call this Employee Picture. But we don't want this to have a type of text. We want this to have a type of image, long var binary. Let's save this table and save our database. Now we want to edit our form, so I'm going to Forms, going to right-click and Edit. The first thing we notice is something's wrong here. Our background's missing. That's because I updated LibreOffice to version 4.1. And when I did, the background from the gallery is missing. If we go back and open our other form, and this is the background that we created with our form wizard, so that one's okay. Coming back to our other form, I'm going to go back to the gallery and re-add the background. When I click on gallery, the first thing we notice is some arrows. So it looks like in LibreOffice version 4.1, they added more themes. We've got arrows, we've got computers, diagrams, finance. So they've added quite a bit more to the gallery. Let's go back to backgrounds. And I had light sand. Actually, I think it was sand light. This looks like it here. Sand light. I need to right click, insert, background, page. And it's back. And it looks like they've added some more backgrounds in here too. Going to close the gallery. Now we're back to adding our photo. To do that, I want to come over and click on the More Controls. Inside here we've got two buttons for image. One says Image button, the other says Image Control. We want the Image Control. I'm going to click that. Coming down to one of the corners, and I'm going to drag this up, and we'll make the available picture size right here. I'm going to right click on this to bring up our properties dialog box by clicking Control. First thing I want to do is change the name. I'm going to call this IMG Employee Picture. Now I want to go over to the Data tab, clicking the down arrow and selecting Employee Picture. Going back to the General tab, a few other changes I want to make are in the background color. We're going to make this light gray, and I'm going to darken up the border just a little bit by making that gray. And one last thing I want to add is some help text. And I'm going to type in, right-click to add a picture. Let's close this. I'm going to save our form, close it, save our database, and now I'm going to open up our form, and here we see we don't have any pictures in here yet. When I put my arrow over our picture area, it says right click to add a picture in that help text. We could have added help text to all of these fields, but I just didn't think of it at the time. Right click to add a picture. So I'm going to right click, and it brings up a button Insert Graphics From. I'm going to left click the button, and it brings up our pictures. Our first person in is Brian Adams, so I will click the picture, open, and the picture gets added. Let's go to our next record, Patricia Anderson. I'm going onto our picture area, right clicking, insert graphic from Patricia Anderson, open. Adding one more, a third record in, we've got David Brown. So that's how we insert an embedded picture. I've got 3 of them out there. I'm going to save this record, going to close the form. Now I'm going to save as the entire database. With the same name, but I'm calling this backup 1. Now I'm going to close the database and reopen ODB 15 Embedded Pictures. Opening up the form. Now I'm going to add in our next 3 pictures. We've got Nancy Clark, Betty Garcia. Now, I'm adding in these just a few at a time because when I tried to add too many pictures at one time, my database crashed and it wiped out the entire database. The way I found to add all these in is to add them 2 or 3 at a time, and you can embed all your pictures. I've added all the pictures I have. Not every employee has a picture, but most of them do. And I'm showing that we can add multiple pictures without crashing the database. But remember how I did it. I made backups every few pictures. Here we see we made a copy of ODB 14 form properties, which was 63 kilobytes. Then we added our first 3 pictures, and we made a backup, and it became 6,000 kilobytes. And I kept making backups and closing and reopening our table until I got up to what we have here with the 40,000 kilobytes. So our file size is quite large. I know most of you are thinking, well, I've got plenty of disk space. That's not a problem. The problem becomes when we open and close our table. We don't see much difference right here going back and forth between the pictures. Closing the form shouldn't be a problem. But here, even though we didn't make any changes, just closing the database will take a lot more time than we're used to seeing. So you need to have a little more patience when you're working with files of this size.